Hi IMS families, Mr. Lucas here. I hope you're doing well. I hope this video finds you healthy, both you and your family, and I hope that you're ready to start on September 2nd, the 2020-2021 school year. We are so excited to welcome your student back to IMS or to IMS. I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about attendance, engagement, and grading. And so that's the topic of this video. But first, let's rewind a little bit and talk about what that looked like in the spring. As you'll remember, attendance was taken once a week on Fridays. And embedded in attendance were two things. First, we measured whether or not your student attended, but also whether or not they participated in the learning. That was an engagement score. Again, remember of 3, 2, and 1, that came out on Fridays. And the intent was to let you know how much your student was participating in the learning activities. Grading shifted a little bit as well. So if you'll remember in the spring, under OSPI guidelines, the policy was do no harm. And so IMS adopted a pass or no credit policy for grading. So all students received that passing score or a no credit if they didn't get to passing. Well, that is going to change. So there are a lot of factors going into this change that I'll talk about today. Primarily, there's guidance from the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or OSPI, as well as the State Board of Education, who provide guidance on things like attendance and grading. So what I'd like to do right now is walk you through what attendance, grading, and engagement are going to look like and how we're going to communicate those things with you. As I said, we'd be talking about attendance, grading, and engagement. So what does attendance look like in the Red Learning model? Well, there's a couple things to know. Attendance will be taken for each synchronous instructional block, Monday through Friday in the morning. As you know, in our Red Learning model, Tuesday and Thursday have periods 1, 2, 3. Wednesday and Friday have periods 4, 5, and 6. And that is the time when attendance will be taken. And attendance is going to be marked either present or absent. So we're separating the idea of attendance being there in class and engagement or participating in class. And you'll see when we get to engagement that those things are separated now. But it's important to note that attendance is going to be marked present or absent, and it's going to be taken during those morning instructional blocks, the synchronous learning time when we're together. What do you do if a student misses class? Well, just like before COVID, you do need to excuse your student's absence. So what we would ask is that if your student is going to miss a class, if you know ahead of time, or if they do miss a synchronous learning opportunity, you're going to need to contact the IMS attendance office to excuse the absence. Kay Johnson is the IMS attendance secretary, and she can be reached at 206-236-3400. And that's how you would notify us of the absence and excuse it. So it's really important that if your student misses a class, that you do call and excuse that absence or make us aware of the absence. That's really important. Now, engagement. We talked about what engagement is. It's the measure of how much your student is participating in the learning activities. Teachers are going to continue to communicate engagement with you. So in the spring, it was embedded in that attendance grade. Well, now we're going to separate it. It's not embedded with attendance anymore. It is its own separate category. Teachers are going to communicate it weekly on Fridays, and they're going to communicate it through Skyward. There will be a column in the Skyward gradebook for each week letting you know how much your student was engaged in or participating in the learning activities. It will not count towards their grade. We're choosing to use Skyward as a communication tool so that parents have one place to go to understand their students' progress. But again, engagement will not be graded. It will not count toward their grade. It's really just a tool to communicate with you how much they're participating in the learning activities, both synchronous and asynchronous, or together and on demand. There's a rubric that we've designed for engagement to communicate with you how much your student is participating. It's on a scale of 3, 2, and 1. If your student receives a 3, that means that they're engaging in both the synchronous and asynchronous learning activities, and that they're meeting the expectations for engagement. They're doing everything they're supposed to be doing, both in that time together as a class and then in the on-demand time in the afternoon. If they get a 2, they might be only participating in class, or they might only be doing the activities in the afternoon in that on-demand time. Or they could increase their participation level in both. 2 means they have some more work to do to get to the level of 3 where they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. If they receive a score of 1, your student is not engaging in the learning activities at all. They may be attending, but they're not participating, and that's a really important distinction. Again, this is different from the spring. In the Red Learning model, it's possible for your student to be attending all of their classes but not participating. They may be sitting quietly, they may not answer when the teacher asks questions or when they're asked to work as a group. And so it's really important that if you see a 1, that you communicate with the teacher to understand what's happening with your student and how we can support them in moving forward. Again, a big note that engagement is no longer tied to attendance. Students can attend all of their classes and still receive a 1 for engagement. So we want to work with you. We want to work alongside parents and teachers to make sure students are fully participating and engaged in the learning activities. Lastly, I'd like to talk to you about grading. As you remember in the spring, our grading model changed to the do no harm policy of a pass or a no credit. In the red learning model, as we start the 2020 2021 school year, we are going to be returning to the grading models that were used pre COVID 19. And there were two being used at Islander Middle School. Many of our teachers have adopted a standards based grading policy where students receive a score of 4, 3, 2, or 1 based on their progress toward a learning standard. Under a standards based grade, again, you'd see that reported score of a 4, 3, 2, or 1. And many of our staff have taken that as their learning model or their grading model. We also have staff who are using a more traditional A through F grading or letter grading, where a student receives a letter grade that corresponds with their percentage in the class. If a student, for example, received a 75%, their grade was a C. Some of our teachers are using that model as well. So again, you'll see one of these two models being returned to as our grading model. I think an important note is that grading accommodations are going to remain the same. So if your student had accommodations per their IEP or a 504 plan that impacted the way that they were graded or what was graded, that's still going to be in place. We're going to honor all of those things. Okay, Gators, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking just a few minutes to watch and hear about our attendance, grading, and engagement policies going into the RED model. Again, we are so excited to welcome your student to IMS for the 2020-2021 school year. It's going to be amazing, and we know that all the hard work that's happened over the summer, both from your student and from the IMS staff, is going to pay off, and we're going to have a great school year. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to an IMS admin or any of your students' teachers. Thank you and have a great day.